Hello, my name is Luke and I'm here to make a song from scratch, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to put this together, kind of my thought process as I'm sort of making it, and we'll see what we end up with. I have no idea what I'm going to make today. Literally, it is an open book. So let's get to it. My watch is asking me if I'm awake. Hell yes, I'm awake. Okay, so I've dialed in this drum groove here and it sounds like this. In my mind, I'm thinking this could go in a pretty funky, cool direction. I want to get like a driving guitar in there. So what I've done here is I'm just using a kit called Funky Dry from Mars. It's the Dry Funky Kit Wendell or something like that. Anyway, it's a drum kit from Mars, and I'm running that through the RC20 here with some distortion, a bit of wobble at the top end, just to kind of age it a little bit, take away some of the low and top end. And then I recorded in this shaker here using this little bad boy here, and then I just put this gain plugin on it just to make it from mono to stereo. And then I added shaper box, and here we're trimming it every 16th note. We're throwing in a pan for every 8th note, so going left and right, and then just a bit of reverb for ambience. So I'm thinking I might try and add some guitar now, so let's get to it. Okay, so I've just added in this guitar here, which sounds like this. I think it's going to be a really nice bass for the song that I'm building. I want to get like a really fat Moog style bass in there, you know, the bum bum. It's almost slightly Micheal Jackson Weeknd-esque. That's kind of the vibe that I'm feeling. So I recorded in a single note on the guitar, and then I went ahead and basically just tidied up all the 16th notes and just shortened them a little bit so that they have these little gaps in between. I then added this shaper box plugin here, and I'm basically trimming every 16th note even further to get that really tight 16th sound. And then I'm adding just a little bit of distortion on the dry signal. And then we're going into the guitar rig, and the preset I've gone for is auto rhythm, but I've turned off the delay and the studio reverb, and then just finished off with a bit of RC20 with some dirt and some stereo width to give it a bit more vibe. So that is what we've got. So I'm going to keep building on this now. I think this will be like the start. I might add some keys and then some bass. So I'll get to it and then show you what I've done. Okay, so I've added a few extra bits here. So the first thing that I did was actually I addressed the original drums and I added just a bit more transient energy on them here. So I added a really high attack and low sustain. And then I added just a clipper just to take away those peaks so I could get a really tight sound. So it's just a lot tighter, and that'll sit really nicely over the top of what I've got going on here. I then added this additional clap here to coincide with the hit of this drum. I then added just a couple of effects to lead it in. So we got the low sort of impact here and then a crash impact. I then added this little synth pluck. And this is just a Juno here. It's called Migrating Lead, and I just played around with some of the settings here. And then I added in one of my favorite sounds here, which is this bass, which does this. And that is a funky Moog sound, so it's called the Chameleon Bass by the legendary Herbie Hancock inspired. And then I added RC20 with some distortion, and then some MOTT, at about 17% just to tidy everything up. And I did the same thing with the guitar. Actually, I added just a bit of MOTT. So this is basically OTT, but Slate Digital's version. And this is the sound that we've got so far. When that bass comes in, I'm thinking I'm probably going to add some like bigger drums. So that's what I'm going to look at doing now. Okay, so I've added in some drums now, and they sound like this leading in. So what I've got going on here is I've got two vintage drum machine sort of sounds here from the Alesis kit. So I've got a snare, which is sounds like this. And what I've added to this is some thermal on the crunchy bus at about 30% or so, just to give it some extra girth. We then add a little non-linear at 10% here, non-linear reverb. That gives it a bit of room. And then I added just a bit of knock with some extra punch and some clipping on there. I then added this kick. And the source that I've got on this is the disperser plugin. And this, I've got this set at 78 Hertz, and the amount is sort of 9 o'clock there. And then I added thermal again, this time with the electro sweetener, and I quite liked the XY position over here. I then finished it off with a bit of knock with some extra transient shaping and then some clipping as well. And then the hi-hats is just the same thing. I dragged 3 different types of hi-hats, which I played in like this. There is an open hi-hat here, but I've not used that yet. And it's basically playing this. I just alternate between these 2 hi-hats here. And then what I did is once I recorded it in and tightened it up, I actually highlighted it all. And then I went over to the MIDI transform button here under functions, and I went to humanize. And then I selected operate, and that just kind of slightly adjusts the velocity and placement of every single one. You can sort of see just there that they're slightly not perfect to the grid, so it just humanizes it a little bit so it sounds like a real player. So that's what I did there. I also got rid of this plucky synth sound here. That was kind of annoying me, so I got rid of it for now. So I'm going to build on this a little bit more, maybe add some more keys, and then let you know how I get on. Okay, so now I've added some synths here, and they sound like this. I'll play you what's going on and then break down. Cool. So it's really simple. I'm basically holding a pedal note on the D sharp here. And then I'm just playing some chords over the top of that, centered around that sort of E flat minor. And then right at the end here, we have the stab of some strings here. I'm just using session strings. This one here, I just sort of have the velocity switch, and then it's accented up at the top there with a bit of thermal on there to give it some grit. And then I've just got this kind of orchestral sound that I made. It's layers of strings and brass, just to make it sound a little bit beefier. And I'm thinking like this part here will probably be like a turnaround, something where I'm singing something fun, I don't know, and then we kind of go into a chorus. So I'm going to see if I can bash out a quick chorus, because I don't have huge amounts of time, and then I'll break down what I've done. Okay, so I've just drafted up a little chorus section here. So I kept the drums pretty much the same. In fact, completely the same. I didn't change them all apart from the very end, which you'll hear. I then added a few synths down here. So the first one is this kind of Silver Dawn patch. That's the name of the preset in Analog Lab here. It's on the OPXA. I absolutely love this sound, and that sounds like this. Okay, and then on top of that, we have this kind of guitar saw hybrid sound. So when you put those together, it creates quite a nice melody. And that kind of goes all throughout. We then have a bass, which sounds like this. And that is being played in Anna 2, and it is the basic bass, or basic bass, however you pronounce it, preset there. Anna 2 from Slate Digital. And then it basically plays all the way through. In the second part of the chorus, we bring in a new guitar, which is similar to the first one, but just changes the melody slightly. It does this. So that's super, super fun. And then we kind of finish off with our kind of orchestra hits that we had earlier leading into the verse. So you'll hear, I've also changed the chords. So we'll play it now and you can see kind of how it all sounds together. then it just goes back around, and then I imagine I'd repeat that kind of verse and then chorus again. So I'm going to leave it there for now. That is kind of my process of building a demo from scratch, a polished demo. I love the way that this sounds, so this will be super fun to come back to and write over, and then I'll add kind of extra kind of production, ear candy stuff. But yeah, that's kind of my process and my thinking when creating a song. Obviously, I had no idea how it was going to be this morning. Didn't think it'd be this, but I love it regardless. So hope you found this video useful. If you have, like, follow, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.